My name is Phil Kelly. I'm a bladder cancer patient. I was diagnosed nearly 11 years ago, and after I completed my active treatment, I became involved in trying to do work that would be based on my own experience of treatment for bladder cancer that could be of benefit to others. In my experience, there is a tendency to focus on the needs of clinicians and the practicalities for them of conducting the trial, and probably not enough of a focus on the needs of the patients and the practicalities for them of participation. There is also a tendency not to think in terms of the patient's immediate family, their carers and loved ones, who may well be required to support them to engage in the trial, to provide transport, to provide emotional support, to deal with some of the communication and some of the practicalities. I've certainly got experience of patients who probably wouldn't engage in a trial because of their work pattern, because my experience is that most trial activity takes place during the clinical day, which is basically 9 to 5. So the time of day and the flexibility to be able to provide a more individualized package, I think, is important. And that's a factor that might be helped by delivering a trial more locally and not making the trial dependent on attendance at a trial centre, which certainly my experience is my local trial centre would be probably an hour and a half, 2 hours journey potentially. I've talked about the need for trials to develop a more personalised approach to patient recruitment. People's needs do vary. Their individual circumstances can be quite different. So I think that the kinds of arrangements that can be made and the resources that can be applied need to be quite flexible. I think that if technology is going to be used, and I'm very much a supporter of the use of such tools, if it avoids the necessity of hospital visits in more intrusive methods of engagement with patients, then that's a great thing. But quite a lot of, for example, bladder cancer patients are more elderly and maybe less adept at the use of such technologies and would require training to be able to use it competently. And they actually need to be provided with the actual equipment because they may not have it themselves. We've recently encountered the issue in terms of not being able to do face-to-face patient support groups, and we've offered Zoom alternatives. It was quite surprising how many of the previous members of the support group who indicated that they really just don't do internet, Zoom and such approaches. There may well be challenges in using technology that would require quite a strong input from the trial team in terms of equipping patients to be able to use it. And I think there's a danger in assuming that everybody has got PCs, is used to the internet, happy with virtual communication. Certainly, there's a likelihood that a lot of the patient participants in trials won't live within the immediate catchment of the main trial centre. And even satellite recruitment centres may provide challenges in terms of attendance for appointments in hospital. So for me, I think if other local facilities and resources can be engaged as part of the trial delivery method, and that can be practice nurses in GP surgeries, it can be local clinics, it could be other facilities where some of the testing and some of the communication can take place between the patient and the trial without requiring them to travel distances, would be of extreme positive benefit. I actually think that the experience of the COVID pandemic may have had some positive spin-off benefits for clinical trials. A lot of people have become comfortable with virtual appointments, telephone appointments, Zoom appointments, and other non-face-to-face interactions with health professionals. So I think the patient population is probably in a better place to be able to accept some of the remote and technological aspects that decentralized clinical trials might require. I think to ensure that patients feel valued and to encourage their continued participation in trials, it would be helpful for them to get a sense of how the trial is progressing. And that probably would be best if it wasn't left until the completion of the trial, but done contemporaneously. The other thing that I've thought that would encourage participation would be the possibility of access to whatever is proved to be the best treatment approach that is confirmed by the trial. It seems to me that if it's a trial of drug A versus drug B and the patient has willingly been randomized into the arm that takes drug B, that there is a moral imperative there from my perspective to offer drug A to the patients from arm drug B if it's proven that the other drug has had a better outcome than the one they were given.